I was always told that family meant loyalty, love, and unity. But when my father died, leaving behind a fortune of $50 million, I discovered just how fragile those words were. Instead of comfort, I was met with betrayal. Instead of support, I was cast aside. Everyone I trusted inherited everything except me. This is not just a story of money. It is a story of secrets, manipulation, and a legacy torn apart by greed. My journey forced me to face the darkest truths about my family, my past, and even myself. And as I fought to uncover why I was written out of my father's will, I stumbled on revelations that would change everything inside the attorney's office was colder than the winter outside. I remember shivering, though I wasn't sure if it was from the draft creeping through the old wooden window frames or the tension that clung to the room. Like invisible fog, we all sat in a circle, my mother, my two brothers, my sister, and me. A family, at least on the surface. But beneath the polite smiles and stiff body language, I could already sense the fractures that had been waiting for this very day. The executor of my father's estate. Mr. Howard cleared his throat as he unfolded a thick stack of papers. His gray hair fell over his glasses as he looked at us one by one, his expression grim. Today, he began. We are here to read the last will and testament of Richard Donovan, my father, the man who had built an empire from nothing. He had started with a small construction company and turned it into one of the largest real estate firms in the city. From skyscrapers to luxury resorts, his name was engraved in steel and glass across the skyline. People admired him, envied him, even feared him. But to me, he was just Dad. Or at least, that's what I thought. The reading began slowly. Mr. Howard listed properties, assets, and financial accounts. My siblings leaned forward eagerly, their eyes flickering with greed every time another figure was mentioned. I tried to focus, but my heart was pounding too loud. And then it happened. To my son, Michael, I leave the Manhattan penthouse valued at $12 million. To my daughter, Claire, I leave the vineyard estate in Napa Valley. To my youngest, Daniel, I leave the yacht in the Florida properties. To my wife, Eleanor, I leave the remainder of our joint accounts and family home. Mr. Howard paused. My chest tightened. I was waiting for my name, waiting for that one moment when he would finally look at me and say something, anything. But instead, he flipped to the last page. His tone did not falter. To my eldest, Matthew, I leave nothing. Words sliced through me like a knife. For a moment, I thought I had misheard him. My ears rang. My mother avoided my eyes, staring down at the floor. My siblings sat frozen, their expressions caught somewhere between shock and smug satisfaction. "Excuse me?" I managed to whisper. My throat dried. Mr. Howard adjusted his glasses. Your father's will was clear, Matthew. You are not included among the beneficiaries of his estate. It was like the floor had been pulled out from under me. $50 million. An empire. Everything he had built gone from my grasp in a single sentence. I forced myself to breathe, my hands gripping the arms of the chair so tightly that my knuckles turned white. But why? My voice cracked, almost breaking. No one answered. Not my mother, not my brothers, not my sister. The silence was deafening. That was the moment I realized this was not an accident. This was not a clerical error. This was betrayal deliberate, cruel and calculated. And as I sat there in that suffocating office surrounded by the people who were supposed to be my family, I made a silent vow. I would find out why my father had erased me from his will. And when I did, the truth would destroy them. I left the attorney's office in a daze, my body moving on instinct while my mind remained trapped inside the echo of those words. To my eldest, Matthew, I leave nothing. Outside the city was buzzing with life, as if the world hadn't just collapsed around me. People rushed along the sidewalks, cars honked in the distance, and the winter wind clawed at my face. Yet I felt detached from it all, like I was walking through a dream or a nightmare. My siblings walked out just a few steps behind me. Michael, the oldest after me, slid on his leather gloves with a kind of smugness that made my blood boil. He glanced at me briefly, his lips curling into what might have been pity or triumph. Claire was whispering to Daniel, and though I couldn't hear the words, I caught the gleam in their eyes. It's the same kind of gleam that comes when vultures circle around a dying animal. "Matthew," Claire finally said, her voice falsely sweet, "maybe it's for the best. You've always lived differently." Differently. I stopped in my tracks, turning to face her. "What the hell is that supposed to mean?" She shrugged, her fur-lined coat brushing against her shoulders as she pulled it tighter. "Dad must have had his reasons. Maybe you should accept it." Her words landed like a slap. Accept it. My entire legacy stripped away, and I was supposed to just accept it. Daniel chuckled under his breath. Guess being the favorite isn't permanent after all. I clenched my fists, but I refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing me snap. Instead, I walked away, each step heavy with rage and humiliation. That night, sleep was impossible. I sat in my apartment, a modest 2-bedroom compared to the estates my siblings now owned, and stared at the boxes of old photographs and letters I had collected over the years. My father's face stared back at me from picture frames, his proud smile, his strong posture, the way he used to hold me on his shoulders when I was a boy. He wasn't perfect, okay? He was strict, demanding, sometimes harsh, but he loved me, okay? Or at least I had believed he did. Why would he cut me out? I poured myself a glass of whiskey, the amber liquid catching the dim light of the lamp. My hand trembled as I lifted it, not from the alcohol, but from the gnawing uncertainty eating me alive. Somewhere deep inside, I knew there had to be more to this story. My father wasn't the kind of man to make rash decisions. He planned everything, every building, every deal. Every detail of his empire was meticulously calculated. If he left me nothing, it was deliberate. But why? I opened one of the boxes, sifting through letters and documents. Buried under old family photographs, I found a sealed envelope with my name written in my father's handwriting. My breath caught, hands shaking. I tore it open. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "Matthew, if you're reading this, then the will has been read. I know you are hurt, but understand this. Everything I've done has been to protect you. Trust no one, not even those who share our blood. The truth will reveal itself, but only if you have the strength to look for it." My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. Protect me. From what? From whom? I read the letter again and again, searching for hidden meaning, for a clue. But the words were maddeningly vague, as if he knew that leaving me in confusion was the only way to push me into action. And it worked. Over the next few weeks, I started digging. I spoke with my father's former business partners, his longtime employees, even the house staff who had served him for decades. At first, no one wanted to talk. My siblings had already stepped into their new roles as heirs, and they made it clear that I was an outsider now. But money talks. And persistence breaks walls. One of my father's old accountants finally agreed to meet me in a small diner on the outskirts of the city. His name was Gregory, a frail man in his 70s, with trembling hands and eyes that darted nervously around the room. "You shouldn't be asking these questions, Ugh," he whispered, leaning close across the booth. "Your father was involved in things you don't understand. Dangerous things." "What things?" I demanded. He shook his head. "I can't say. All I know is there was money that doesn't appear anywhere in the official estate. Documents, hidden accounts offshore. And there were enemies. If he left you out, maybe it was to keep you away from them. Hidden money, enemies, offshore accounts. The puzzle pieces began to shift. But they didn't yet form a picture. I pressed him for more, but Gregory refused. "I've already said too much. They'll come after me if they know I talked to you." They? Who are they? I asked, but he only shook his head again, slid out of the booth, and left me sitting there, stunned and restless. Back in my apartment, I stared at my father's letter once more. Trust no one. My siblings had inherited $50 million. But what if that wasn't all? What if the real fortune, the real secret, was hidden somewhere else? The more I thought about it, the more certain I became. My father hadn't disowned me out of spite. He'd left me out because he wanted me to search, to uncover the truth that everyone else was too blind or too greedy to see. And I swore to myself, as I drained the last of the whiskey from my glass, I would find it. Whatever my father was hiding, wherever he had hidden it, I would uncover the truth, even if it destroyed me.